If you're after one of the loudest and most unruly systems out there for your 05 to 10 GT, well then the Borla ATAK Axle-Back certainly worth some serious consideration. Now the Borla will combine a quality 304 grade stainless steel build with absolutely ear-piercing tone, all for right around $800. Now the install, 100% bolt-on job guys, but since all of your work is done underneath the car, site's automatically gonna bump things up to a 2 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter and call about an hour to complete from start to finish. So when shopping for aftermarket Axle-Back systems, you're going to encounter roughly 3 big options or buckets, let's say, when it comes to sound. Those systems that will barely move the needle over the factory exhaust, something that will give you a noticeable amount of bark, and then there will be systems that turn every head and set off every alarm on your block. Now, as you heard with our sound clips, the ATAK from Borla is definitely gonna fall into that latter category. In fact, going to my 1 to 5 or 1 to wake the neighbor scale, the ATAK might just be one of the loudest Axle-Backs available for the 3-valve GT, so therefore I'm going strong 4 out of 5 here again on my wake the neighbor scale. Now you have to keep in mind, guys, I know I didn't peg it, well, that's because this is still with the stock headers and stock mid-pipe in place. Replace those paperweights with some free-flowing options and, well, you will officially enter the wake the dead scale. Now inside the car, on the other hand, the ATAK does manage to fight off some drone and noise, but listen, when things are this loud and this aggressive on the outside of the car, it's near impossible to remain that quiet on the inside. However, I will say Borla is one of the better options out there in regards to fighting off drone, and the ATAK is no different. So how does the ATAK get all of its volume? Well, for starters, let's look at the name. ATAK actually stands for Acoustically-Tuned Applied Kinetics, which is Borla's super technical and fancy way of saying, yeah, this system's gonna be really loud, but without some of the distortion that can sometimes come along with those more aggressive systems out there. Now, I will say the ATAK is not only going to be louder than the Stinger or Borla S-Type, which is Borla's middle of the road offering, by the way, but the tone from the ATAK, I feel, is actually a little bit higher pitched compared to the slightly deeper tone of the S-Type, which some people might like, others might prefer the kind of deeper thumping tone of the S-Type. As always, guys, feel free to consider all of your options when shopping for an exhaust. Check out our sound clips here on the site. We like to provide some of the best sound clips in the industry to ultimately help you guys make the best decision. But shifting our focus back to the ATAK here, guys, and construction-wise, you can expect a rock-solid build quality, high level of materials throughout, which is usually the case when we're talking about Borla. Now, this does include the full stainless steel build, 2 3/4 inch mandrel bent tubing, leading into and out of the straight-through ATAK series mufflers, before finally exiting out the rather large 4-inch tips embossed with that Borla logo. Now, finally, guys, Borla does include some necessary clamps needed to get everything in place. But what do you say we switch gears and get into the install? And guys, you're looking at a 100% bolt-on job here. No cutting, no permanent modification needed. But to give you a better idea of just how things will go down on your 3-valve at home, feel free to check out our detailed walkthrough and tool breakdown now.
Tools used for this installation: 3/8 ratchet, 3/8 extension, 13 15mm sockets, 13mm ratcheting wrench, and 3/8 electric impact. Hey guys, I'm going to show you how to uninstall and install our Axle-Back exhaust here today. First thing we're going to do is I'm going to take my gun and my 15mm, and we're going to loosen up our back clamps here to hold our muffler onto our mid-pipe. Now I got my 15mm on my impact gun. I'm going to loosen this up. I already sprayed it with PB Blaster. So now we're going to come up to the front of the muffler here. There's a 13 millimeter here and a 13 millimeter on the side. I'm going to take my gun with my 13 millimeter, remove this one first. Once I have that one off, I'm going to take my 13 millimeter on my ratchet. You might not be able to see this, but I'm going to get up in here, loosen this one up. Now I have that loose, there's one more bracket holding it on the other side. So now we got 13 millimeter up here. This is holding on our back grommet here that holds the exhaust on. I'm gonna take my 13 millimeter on my ratchet and loosen this one up and take this one out. Now with our hangers off and disconnected, we're going to remove our muffler. You should be able to just start to slide it off. Now you're going to want to repeat this whole procedure on the other side. Now that we have our factory muffler off, we have our Borla Axle-Back here on the ground. What we're going to do is install our factory 2 hangers and our clamp on the back. Put this on before we put it up in the car. So now I'm going to put our hangers back on, our factory hangers, and put our clamp on the back and get that all pre-installed so we can just lift it up and slide it onto our vehicle. So now we're going to put our muffler up in place. I'm going to slide this up, get it started on our pipe, push it on, take our muffler. Once I get it up, I'm going to start one of our bolts and one of our brackets to hold it up into place. Wiggle our muffler back onto the pipe like that. Start another bolt in our back bracket and get that started. And now that we got our brackets in place, we'll start this upper bolt here in this bracket. And now we'll get our 13 millimeter and we'll tighten all our bracket bolts up. So I'm gonna take my 13 millimeter on my ratchet, tighten our bottom one up first. Then tighten our side one up here. Now we'll go on to our back bracket. Now we're going to tighten up our 13 millimeter back here, and we'll take my 13 millimeter wrench. Now in our vehicle, we only had one bolt back here on this bracket, so the one's missing. So in yours, if you have 2, you're going to want to tighten the other one up. Now we'll tighten up our hanger clamp. So now we're going to tighten up our clamp, slide it over, take my 15 millimeter on my gun, tighten this up. Now you're going to want to just repeat the same procedure on the other side. That wraps up this review and install of our Borla ATAK Axle-Back exhaust with polished tips for 05 to 09 GTs. Thanks for watching, and for all things Mustang, keep it right here at AmericanMuscle.com.